Okay, thank you, everyone. Wow, so a lot of good-looking people today. Okay, all right. I'm not really nervous anymore. All right. Okay, y'all are smiling, so that's good. No, but really, I first of all want to thank Dennis and Yvonne for your continuous support in my career as an artist. It feels like what this whole thing started what 2016, and here I am now. I know Dennis and I, we went back and forth, like he said, with the opening and trying to figure out the dates for this show. But I'm glad we took our time with it because it's everything well, more than I envisioned the layout and the opening to be. So, with that said, Crowned in Contradiction is a deeply personal project of mine, a project shaped by my experience living between worlds. Now, what I mean by that is being rooted in African heritage and also constantly engaging in a globalized culture. This tension between world is at the heart of Afropolitanism. Now, I'm going to get into teacher mode here and ask, has anybody heard about that concept before or that movement? It's relatively new, Afropolitanism. Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to jump right into it. Okay, so I'm going to keep it short and simple about Afropolitanism. Afropolitanism is a play on the idea of a cosmopolitan, but in this sense would be an African from the continent. So basically, what you're looking at is a definition or description of a modern day African um, who has a unique identity moving on forward into the future. So it's the time orientation would be the present and moving on into the future. So, um, of course, it's not so simple. It's quite complex and it has a variety of perception to it. But what you should know about this movement is that it seeks to grant Africans or people from the diaspora and the continent limitless mobility within and between economical and social sphere. And it's dealing with a global um, communication, so to speak. Moving on with that, I had a show. I'm gonna get talky and preachy a bit, so everybody, yeah, but I'm gonna keep it short anyway. I just had a show in my gallery representative, Hooks Epstein, and in that show, that was the first step in identifying where I want my body of works to lead to, which is the definition and the explanation and the conversation about Afropolitanism. So this movement has underlying issues with it, issues like the idea that it only serves a particular portion of the African community, mainly the elitist group. So the idea is that only a well-studied, well-traveled African can be an Afropolitan. That's one issue with it. Another issue is that it almost it exoticizes this idea of what an African is and kind of like tailors the identity of an African in the gaze of the Western culture or community. So that's just bits of just several issues that kind of hides underneath this idea or this glossy interpretation of what the modern day African is, in a global sense. So, Crowned in Contradiction is my way of unraveling this tension in the within the conversation. So, I want this works to explore ideas of irony, ideas of beauty, ideas of elegance, ideas of defiance, refusal, acceptance, and all in one breath to almost in a way of reflecting or exposing this hidden psychology and structural reality that the modern day African deals with this idea. I believe in this concept because I see myself as one. So it's not just an imaginary movement. My backstory from migrating from Nigeria at a young age, moving to the United States at just like I was just a teenager. It's like, okay, man, it's like it's another world, it's another culture. These changes in my life became overwhelming. And funny enough, I found myself tapping into this idea of juxtapositioning that's contradicting yet beautiful. So my earlier works, they're mostly in the other space. My earlier works deal with this idea of beauty and contrast and contradiction. But my newer works, starting with this show, which I am honored and blessed to have in this space, is meant to, like I said, open up that conversation of the underlying issues with this concept of Afropolitanism. So that's it for me for being preachy. But guess what? I'm here all evening. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. So I would say it's almost like you read my mind with where I was going with these two works because you happen to just place them side by side. So both of these works inherently deals with authorship. With my self portrait, oh, with my self portrait, it's really about self mythology and critiquing or challenging or interrogating this idea of black identity dressed in borrowed power, but still it's quite contradicting because it's an acceptance of what's happened in the past and an attempt to forge ahead. So I juxtapose the Benin artifacts and aesthetics and with the Igbo headdress on the helmet of the portrait to infuse African motifs, infuse cultural heritage into this conflicting setting of an identity. And I was trying to capture myself in an introspective moment where it's all happening at once. This transformation is happening at once. And speaking of transformation, I'm a big fan of JMW Turner, the painter. Oh, okay, okay. I got some fans in here. All right. What I was trying to do with the background is reflect that idea of transformation in identity with the dramatic clouds changing and moving through the figure, moving past the figure. So that was the idea of the authorship, this interrogation of authorship and reclaiming yourself with what you have in the past and what you have to deal with in the present. Venus is about asking the question of who gets or what hemisphere or what culture gets to dictate femininity. So the idea is that I wanted to juxtapose this hidden, it's like really subtle. I wanted to make it really subtle with my approach of juxtaposition. And so I wanted to put side by side this fluid figure next to this rigid artifact from ancient history. And the idea of femininity is supposed to be a ongoing conversation between the past and the present. The slightly torn edges of the poster or the image behind her is supposed to indicate this refusal or this idea of defiance, this idea of asserting yourself or asserting oneself in the present and not really agreeing with the past and agreeing with narratives of what femininity might be or what divinity might be. So it's a play on the ancient and the play on a contemporary figure. The idea of making these works quite realistic in the sense of hyperrealism or realism to a heightened level is that I wanted my subjects to feel in the present. I want them to feel like they're part of an ongoing conversation. Um, I oftentimes would apply a little bit of abstract approach to my works, like In Transit in the Other Room has a play on abstract symbols, and it's actually inspired by Jasper Johns. Yeah, I'm really a big fan of Jasper. I'm a fan of like so many artists across timeline, and but that's a way of me approaching abstraction in my works. But for the most part, if you're ever wondering why I tend to lean towards realism in my approach of the figure, it's because I want these subjects to feel in the present conversation. Yeah. It would have to be the offering piece in the other room. I love Baroque art movement because of their emphasis on movement and emphasis on dramatic lighting and the paintings like the works of Rembrandt, for instance. So what I wanted to do with that is to create this sort of altarpiece that's quite derivative of a Christian Baroque art, but seen from the lens of the African identity. So that piece also is my only or first piece ever to have multiple figures in there. And I'm going to tell you this, it's quite a challenge. It was a challenge for me to arrange these bodies to where the gestures have a certain language to them, and there's movement, there's a dramatic play of lights and darks in the sense of chiaroscuro, and also the underlying theme of rewriting narrative based of Western culture in the arts. So yeah, offerings would be my personal favorite. Not to talk down on the others, 'cause